Welcome to Old Guys Still Rock. Super grateful you gave us a look or a listen. We specifically developed this podcast for friends or soon-to-be friends who are in the 40-plus category. This podcast is a platform to not only have your voices be heard, but also for others who are going through the same thing and know that they too aren't alone. Our topics may be business, topics may be entrepreneurship, our topics may be social, or our topics may be just everyday life. Whatever it is, we hope that you give it a share and leave us a comment. But most of all, if you want your voice to be heard, please leave us a comment on how to get a hold of you so you too can be an old guy that still rocks and help build our community. Until we speak again, stay safe, but most of all, God bless. All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. Welcome back. We are Old Guys Still Rock. If this is your first time here, I am Blair Armstrong of Team Armstrong Coldwell Banker, now located in beautiful Palm Desert. Even better yet, Ironwood Country Club is where our offices are now. And then on my right, I have a good friend for almost 30 years and a business savant, if you may, of many things. I'm giving him a little bit more credit. He'll talk me back here in a little bit. But a good friend of mine for almost 30 years, Brent Wright of Brent Wright Incorporated. Man owns many businesses, from body shops to detail shops to payroll companies to wellness centers to IT companies. I mean, the list goes on. And constantly getting better in every single one of those businesses. But the best part about it is they are flourishing, and they continue to grow every single year. So if you ever are looking for some business accoutrement, if you may, definitely reach out to Brent Wright. He's helped me out tremendously. We actually both help each other out. That's why we do this podcast. Old Guys Still Rock. We are sharing experiences from wins, losses, and everything in between. Sometimes we're talking about personal issues. Sometimes we're talking about social issues, as you well heard as our little intro there. Sometimes it's entrepreneurial. But how are you doing, my dude? What is going on in beautiful Eugene, Oregon today?
Well, it finally dropped below 106. So summer's over. It's 85 today. Yeah, it's been a good time. We are getting ready to go to a good friend of mine and a listener, Kyle Vanderlinden. Thank you, Kyle, for listening and supporting us through all the things, not just this, but everything. To him and his wife are having a baby in September, and we're going to the baby shower. So we're going to be traveling 5 or 6 hours up the coast and staying with them for a couple days and getting to know their family a little bit better, hanging out and having a good time. So happy to support them and their new addition. So about a year ago, Kyle called me up and he's like, "Hey, my wife wants to have another baby." I'm like, "Okay, you made 2. Can you make another one?" He's like, No. I'm struggling with the process, like in my head, not the physical process. And I'm like, well, is it going to make a difference to you? Is it going to change your financial outlook? Is it going to change, your spiritual outlook? Is it going to change your relationship? Is it going to any of those things? And he's like, no. And I said, well, what happens if you don't? She wants one really bad. What happens if you don't? Is that going to put a strain on your marriage? And we talked for about 45 minutes or an hour. And I said, bottom line, just pray about it. And then figure it out. And so he did. So that's where he's at today, is they're having a baby.
That's cool. When's the baby due?
In September.
Oh, just right around the corner.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yep. Congratulations, Kyle, to you and your family. Very excited for you. I always say this, now they're going to go on number 3, but if you've never really believed in God, that is one good way is to believe in God. It is an ultimate miracle how that stuff all comes together. And people say, well, it's science and do this stuff. Well, it had to start someplace.
Mm-hmm.
it is very, very cool experience, and very excited that you're bringing in another person into this world, and looking forward to seeing what their life has in front of them, and how they make an impact. So again, congratulations, Kyle, to you and your family and your upcoming pregnancy. So, well, brother, since the last time we spoke, got a little crazy over the weekend.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that we've been talking that we're going to be in episode number 59 today. You know, it's, you and I spoke a little bit yesterday, kind of what we want to kind of accomplish today. You know, and a lot of this conversation is always, again, if we have like talking like, yeah, let's do this, let's talk about this, let's do this. So, I think the big thing that I've noticed over the couple of days, everybody knows there was an assassination attempt on President Trump. There has been a lot of controversy on both sides,
Yep.
a lot of finger pointing on both sides, a lot of misinformation, I guess you could probably say, on both sides, and just the way everything's handled and all these different things. So my not going to be dark on here. We're going to kind of bring this around to what we have, but I think we've talked about this a couple times. Is your house in order? And over the last couple months, it's going to get worse. I believe that we have this massive division: who's on the right, who's on the left. And if you're not in that circle, especially lately, I mean, over the last couple of days, it seems like it's far to divide. I'm going to get into it. You can kind of pull me back and push me around on this with you as Brandon on this, but I am full blown aware that this is much bigger than President Trump, President Biden, Republican, Democrat, Independent. Because of my faith, we are in a full blown spiritual warfare.
Yep.
The dark forces are really coming against everybody and manipulating different situations. So we have this constant bickering, fighting, losing friendships, losing family relationships, so on and so forth. So when I say like we're going to go back and talk about is your house in order now more than ever. I think over the next couple of weeks, Brent and I are really going to stick on this, is how we believe, and I know that I'm on a soapbox a little bit right now, but we believe that God had created everybody to become a leader. And some of us understand that calling. Some of us haven't really sat down and listened to that calling. But that's really what we're going to go after today, because we can go ahead and sit in the cesspool of what's going on in the darkness. But realistically, you know, and I'm going to stop there, kind of let you feed into it, because there was something I said to you last night that I want to bring up, and how I'm finding myself get triggered. And it just popped in my head of having a dinner with somebody last night. I'm like, why am I so angry at seeing that thing when it's supposed to be so beautiful? And that's when it really hit. It's spiritual warfare. And the devil, to me, again, you guys, so many people watch this, I don't have that type of faith. I get it. That to me is like, okay, the devil is Satan is trying to make me mad at God. So anyway, what are your thoughts, kind of what's going on? What is your vibe around your town? Again, I'm in California. We kind of got a mixed bag of people out here. What are you hearing? What are you feeling?
Well, first off, I want to say that, you know, some of us, guilty as charged, just ignored our calling to be a leader. I won't make a difference. I'm not going to vote. It's not my job. It's not my position. What I say doesn't matter. What I do doesn't matter. That was the lie I was telling myself for 40 years. My wake-up call was when I had kids at 42. I was like, wow, I do have to go make a damn difference. I do. My one vote counts. My one opinion counts. My one thought counts. And I'm going to make a damn difference every day.
Mm-hmm.
When is it time for you, not you, Blair, but you, our listeners, to wake up, to get outside the matrix, the fog, the whatever you want to call it, whatever your theory is about what we're in and our life we're living, and quit trying to escape
Mm-hmm.
everything you're trying to escape and really dive deep into how can I affect others in a more positive way. Maybe leadership isn't for you. Maybe the term leadership, maybe the action of leadership isn't for you. Maybe you don't feel called to do that. But if you're just a good person, that is a form of leadership. If you're kind, if you're loving, if you are complimentary to people, that is a form of leadership. People look to others, and Ed Milet said it in one of our coaching calls a couple of weeks ago. How do people perceive you? How do people see you? And that is a huge, huge thing to think about. What is it that you're doing that changes the way people view you or see you in your actions?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you talked about that, going down to the beach and you see this beautiful rainbow.
Mm-hmm.
And then you are walking down the beach and you see somebody with a rainbow shirt on with a bunch of acronyms.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're pissed
Mm-hmm.
because and correct me if I'm wrong, but you said you were pissed because somebody took something that is supposed to be a gift
Mm-hmm.
about the beauty of this world
Mm-hmm.
and perverted it or perpetuated it to something that is divisive,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so we also talked about this last night in our pre-chat that my daughter calls herself a rainbow baby.
Mm-hmm.
And in certain circles that means something different.
Mm-hmm.
Well, to her it means that she was a bloody miracle for us, and she was, because we had 8 or 9 miscarriages. My wife had to have a medical DNC because one of them didn't take, and it was a trying time for us. So to hear that the miracle of my daughter being perverted is a trigger for me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm human. I have feelings. I have emotions. I have triggers. I wear my heart on my sleeve, as one of my mentors used to say.
Mm-hmm.
And so how do I take that and change that so I'm not triggered, and then I'm not divisive, and then I'm not abusive to people who are maybe don't even understand about the t-shirt that they're wearing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't truly understand it. They're just trying to be supportive of a friend or a family member or something
Sure.
like that.
Absolutely.
What say you? Because I just kind of flipped what we
Yeah, you
talked
flipped
about a
me. You
little
kind of
bit,
put me in a
right?
spot. So I was like, listen, I don't have. It's not an issue with that. It's the way that it was being presented. It's the way that it's flipping it. It's the way that it's being jammed down society. And the unfortunately, it's one thing for some people, and it's another thing is when we're all trying to be equal, and they're taking a biblical fact of why that rainbow was created. And again, it's not just some white Christian nationalist BS that people like to jump on the bandwagon with. This is a faith issue, and of all given say to it. The point of it is, it has been pushed so hard, it has developed a negative connotation throughout most of society.
Mm-hmm.
Some good, some bad, and all it was made for a rainbow. And you can go and check it out. Again, it's nothing, no ill will feelings to anybody on this end to it. It was meant as a promise that we will never flood the world again. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been made to make something else. And so that is a hard part about it. The point, so that's my thought to it. The point that Brent was making to me is now I see it and I get angry and I'm like, That is when social media, that is when media, that is when an agenda is forcing negative connotation to make me hate something in my belief I am supposed to love.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're seeing with a lot of things. And that's the thing too, like, okay, I know that, and Brett knows, and a lot of people that we hang out with, we know that we are been called to be leaders. And when I have a hatred towards something that has been manipulated to be something else, I'm not being a good leader. So this would all came to me sitting at dinner last night. I see this and I'm getting angry. I'm like, why should I be angry about that? I know that that's what they're trying to portray, but I know what it really is. So why am I letting Satan? And I know we'll probably get a little bit more faith conscious on this today. So sorry, not sorry on it, whatever. But why am I letting Satan manipulate or trying to darken my light on something that a social issue that really doesn't, it's not going to change my life?
Yeah. So back to what you said earlier about there was a situation that happened over the weekend. So let's just purely let's let's break down the situation from a purely empirical standpoint. Okay? So let's not go right, let's not go left, let's not go Democrat, let's not go Republican, let's hate the man and hate the agenda and do all those things.
Right.
So doesn't matter the person. In your town, you go to a celebration. Okay. So we have a lot of things in Eugene, a lot of different celebrations, a lot of art in the vineyard, let's just say. Art
Okay.
in the vineyard. It really cool. In fact, I think you and I have been there together.
Yeah.
It was a cool time. You walk through, you see all this art, people doing different things. You can get a chair massage. You can, see a bunch of businesses there. It's in a beautiful park down by the river. There's a boardwalk there. It's a good time. It's a good family time, right? So then you have the director, let's say, of the art in the vineyard, gets up on stage and is speaking to the art in the vineyard people. And somebody takes a shot at him or her. Right? So now you have a correlation of what happened. And now you have it in a benign setting that has no agenda. Art in the vineyard has no agenda except for to bring beauty and art to a beautiful place down by the river. And somebody takes a shot at somebody. Are you going to hate that director who's talking? Right? Are you going to hate the shooter? Are you going to hate anybody around you who doesn't believe the same thing that you do about art in the vineyard? No. You're going to be compassionate, right? For the person who's victimized. You should. This was brought up in church last weekend. You should be praying for the family of the shooter because they are also a victim. The shooter's a victim as well because they've been, I don't know what the word, perverted into a belief system that this other person, the director of the art in the vineyard, is bad because they're promoting positivity. And again, I'm not trying to correlate this one thing to this thing exactly. I'm just saying you take a benign situation and you adjust it and you analyze it, and then you need to reflect on yourself. How am I perceiving this situation? And should I be more compassionate to everybody involved? Should I be more compassionate to everything that ends up being, or the result that ends up being because of the situation?
Yeah. And I was just waiting. I want to make sure you're finished there, so it's not dead time.
Yeah.
I think that's I think that's spot on. And then again, is to my field, there's this darkness that is trying to suppress the light. It has been, and everyone's at fault at it from reposting memes or getting locked into social media and seeing different points of media and so forth. And we make this opinion that we really don't know all the answers to, and it causes controversy and we end up fighting to it. So it's just this snowball effect that's been constant work, especially, I mean, it just seems like it's been since COVID, and then there's something else, and then there's something else, and there's something else, and this division gets more and more and more. And when that doesn't work, something else comes into it in this. So
it's a distraction.
Again, to us, we can continue down this like darkness trail, which darkness wants us to talk about. So going back to it again, why we started off this way, been reading, just finishing up the book, and I have it right here. I don't know if you can kind of see that 21 laws of irrefutable laws of 21 irrefutable laws of leadership.
Yeah.
It was written back in 1995, 97, somewhere around there. John Maxwell, over 100 books on leadership. And Brent and I have talked to this about many times too, and we hear this a lot more. No one's coming on a white horse to save us anymore. So if Biden becomes president, he's not going to come in and save us. If Trump becomes president, he's not going to come in and save us. It is really up to us.
If Mickey Mouse comes in as president, he's not going to save us, right?
None of these guys are coming into it. We talked about this a couple of weeks. Instead of looking at a macro effect of like, if this person becomes president, our world's ruined, our democracies. If this person becomes ruined, our democracy's ruined. Well, then you better step up and take that calling that God gave you at birth and learn how to become a leader. Leaders are not born. Well, some of them are. Some of them are. Let me say that. Some of them are born. But there's no reason, if you really sit down and look at it like, how do I make an impact in my society, in my neighborhood? Maybe I have 500 people living in my neighborhood. Maybe I have 50 people living in my neighborhood. What tools, what attributes, what are those things that I have? What gifts, that's what I was looking for, do I have that I can go ahead and start making a small impact? And I wrote this down to it because I think this, first of all, it's a mindset. You really have to, like, listen, I'm tired of listening, waiting for these guys to come in and change. They're never changing. They tell me one thing, and then we get a couple of years to it, and we're in the same boat, and it's just never getting better. And we're waiting for one person to make a difference and trying to ride the coattails on everything else. It's just, it's got to be done. So having a different mindset in this, but I wrote this down as leadership development is a compound. So the more you invest in people and the longer you do it, the greater the growth, the greater, I can't read my own writing all of a sudden on here. The greater the growth, the greater return.
Yeah.
So it's not going to happen every night. You're going to have to, it's going to be a mindset every single day. I'm going to make an impact. Brent says it at the end of every episode, go make a damn difference. It's a mindset. Reading books. If you can kind of see behind me, you can't see when we got a stack of books to come in here. So we just moved into new offices. We've got a couple of different agents working in here. And they're like, dude, you got some good books in there. I'm like, yeah, go read them, man.
And there may or may not be $100 in the back of each one of them. I don't know.
No, I actually might have a couple in here that still have money in them.
Not crazy.
In my office. But that's the thing to it. And another thing that stuck out to me too in this, and I'm really just finishing up this book, and that's probably the fourth or fifth time I read this book, and there's always something different that you read in a book. But I think the big thing is how many followers do I have on Instagram and Facebook? I mean, that's always a big thing. Well, how many followers do you have? Now that's like a business question when you're hiring somebody. Instead of looking at how many followers, how many leaders have you developed?
Yeah.
It's not about the followers are going to drag you down. They're just going to drag you down. And when they're done with you, they're going to kick you to the curb. So instead of looking at how many people I have following me, how many leaders, how much am I investing into, how much of time am I investing in Brent? Brent and I invest in each other every week.
Yep.
It was a reason why we talk every day, and our lives went like this for a little bit. And because of this podcast, we have come back and we feed each other. Brent is in a different spot of life than I am. Brent has different goals and mindsets. Brent doesn't like to vacation. I love Mai Tais on a beach in Hawaii, right? And that helps me, but it clears my head, and Brent clears his head a very different way. So just because we're different doesn't mean that we can't go ahead and help each other grow. And when we have these conversations with this podcast, this is really not just for us, but this is like, okay, well, those guys can talk about it. Maybe I'm going to go talk about this to my neighbor. Because sure as ish, we can go and talk about, did you see what so-and-so posted the meme up there? And we talk about it. And now we're just spreading negativity. We're not causing anything to it. It's like, hey, man, I had this situation today, and this is why we always tell you to go ahead, leave your losses, leave your wins in this. I had this situation, and lo and behold, man, we did a couple things. I talked to these guys, and we worked it out. So I know this is a little bit of soapbox. No, I'm not an expert on this. No, Brent's not an expert on this as either to it. But we're constantly, as I said, we're constantly developing, compounding thoughts and investing in people. And it's a never-ending process. We're always pursuing perfection, but settling on excellence. And the best thing about this, instead of having followers in here, and I've got a list of different things on here, and I'll probably pull them up, but if you go ahead and help develop another leader, it is growth by multiplication.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
And instead of like, well, I got 5 followers. Okay, what are they doing? They're following you, waiting for your message. Go help that message so they can go and help another one become a leader and another one. And so they're taking you and multiplying your message, your leadership skills that they don't have, putting it in their leadership skills as well as and developing other leaders. And all of a sudden, you have a massive growth of leaders within seconds.
So goes back to, so we talked about penny in the pocket. We could also talk about a penny a day. Have you ever heard that analogy?
I have not.
Okay, so would you rather have $100,000 or would you rather have a penny a day compounded for a year?
Yeah.
Everybody says $100,000.
Right.
But the real answer is a penny a day compounded, right? Mm-hmm. Because a penny a day compounded for a year is like some retarded number, like $1.1 million at the end of the year.
Right.
It's like just unfathomable how a penny a day can be compounded.
Right.
Right. And so it's that exact scenario. It's every leader that we create or help to create or put the idea in their head that they need to be a leader. Sometimes, as the age-old adage says, sometimes it's planting the tree, sometimes it's watering the tree, sometimes it's picking the fruit. And there's another one. A wise man plants trees he knows he will never sit under the shade of. Right? Mm-hmm. And that's what leadership's about, is planting trees and nurturing trees that we may never sit under the shade of. Mm-hmm. I may never see the real effect of what is happening with my kids in my grandchildren or my great-grandchildren. I'm an old dad. I know my number is 118, but the reality is at 118, I'm never going to have great-great-grandchildren. You will. Mm-hmm. The likelihood that you will see great-great-grandchildren is high, or even great-grandchildren. The likelihood for me is like 0.
Right. And I think too, and I heard something today, and we look at the Tony Robbins, the Ed Milet's, the Andy Frisella's, the John Maxwell's. I mean, the list can go on and on and on. So many different things. And every one of those things is to equip, or first of all, engage, equip, and empower. And that is there's some sort of that common thread throughout. And that's what we're doing too. And then what I heard someone say today is one of the most powerful things that you can have right now is a microphone. So Brent's talking about doing, cultivating a thing and investing in kids and so forth. And sometimes that we're looking at to the point of, okay, I have to go make contact with someone. Another reason why we're doing this podcast is we have a far greater outreach than we could ever have. And it's more so, yeah, we have the social media as a platform. We have some other things coming on too. We just opened up an account for X. We have TikTok is coming out too now, because we feel like the more people, if they just hear one message out of 59 messages that we have as of today, that's the other, the planting the seed of the tree and never experiencing the shade from it. Throwing out a starfish, just one starfish at a time. The penny thing. I mean, we can have so many different analogies, right?
Mm-hmm.
The point is when is your mindset going to change? And there are going to be days it's dark. Trust me. Brett and I get up in the morning like, F this. I'm done. Give me the gas. Give me the match. We're burning it down. I'm over it.
Yeah.
And it spills out to our relationships. It spills out, to our wife, our family, our kids, our friendships, and all this stuff. And it is this mindset. And you really have to say, in those days, and it could be a day, it could be half a day, it could be a couple of days, that it's just, it's constant. So it's not that we're this rainbows and butterflies and all this other stuff. No, we fight through those things as well. It's just like everyone that watches this too. But it is like when you start getting more and you're investing not only into yourself, but into these people, you literally have to sit there like, not today, Satan. Yeah. I had that day yesterday. And here's this little voice in my head from a good friend of mine for 30 years. Dude, go look at yourself in the mirror. God, dang. And it was biblical. So it was one of my Bible of the year. Here's this thing is God created you in his image. And that came out in this thing. And I'm like, go look at yourself in the mirror. God created myself in the image. When I'm looking at myself in the mirror, am I seeing God, or am I seeing somebody that's not living up to his purpose? So staring at yourself in the mirror for 2-3 minutes, even to 30 seconds or a minute, you have to think like, am I seeing God in me? Am I going to make the difference? And that got me out of my funk. And I'm like, okay, let's go. Let's, no matter what's going on in this world, it's up to you to invest into others, to do a podcast, to shake a hand and kiss a baby when you really don't want to. But when you put yourself in that mindset, and I really thought about that too, is like, okay, if I made in God's image, and then they have this thing, it's like, you need to look yourself in the mirror. That's like, who are you right now?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Who are you?
Well,
are you a facade? Are you a fake? Or are you here doing what God asked you to do? And again, I know that some of you guys don't have that faith to it, but really think about that for a little bit.
Well, Sean Whalen, one of my coaches, talks about who do you have to become to be the one? Right? Because you're not the one today, or you might be the one today, but if you're not, who do you have to become to be the one? And that's on my calendar every morning. Who do I have to become to be the one? We talked about it 3 episodes ago about negativity. 1 minute of negativity can change your direction for 5 to 8 hours. Mm-hmm. Right? So if you are taking the news, bad news, right? Horrible news for anybody. Anybody who, I don't care what side of the fence you're on, if anybody gets shot or shot at, that's bad news. That's a bad day. Mm-hmm. If you were to get shot at, you would think you had a bad day. Right? So you hear that, you read that, you see that, and then you take that and put these negative thoughts into your head about the conclusion of that day. How long did it take you to get out of that or get that negativity out of your body?
It's a while, man.
And that's why I use the art in the vineyard analogy or a comparison, right? Because some people would never have attached negative thoughts, negative feelings, negative vibes, bashing people, holding people accountable, writing bad things about them on social media for their differences of opinion, et cetera, if it had been something so simple as art in the vineyard.
Yeah.
So why are you letting this foreshadow the rest of your week, the rest of your month, the rest of your year. Is that truly leadership? That's what we're talking about here. Leadership.
Yeah, and I think I understand everyone's idea of posting these memes because that's the mindset
It's
you're in.
easy. It's a keyboard
It's
warrior.
easy.
Yeah.
But I really, really hope, especially for our more seasoned crowd that watches this, really understand those memes are created to create division. That's
Mm-hmm.
the only thing you're into. And I had a good picture, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna screenshot this and put this up to it. But there's literally guys sitting in a room creating this, knowing that it's going to create controversy. And based on the algorithms of social media right now, they can find that and manipulate that story. So just because there's a great thing is, um, I can't remember if it was State Farm or something like this, but years and years ago, this lady's dating this guy or gay's dating this girl is like, oh yeah, he's a French model.
Uh-huh.
You're like, where did you get this from? Like, well, it told me on the internet.
Right.
It was literally pushed in our face. And now that we say that is how much it's evolved instead of this, obviously not a French model or whatever, whoever that thing was. I can't remember, try to find it, but
it was the no regrets, commercial.
no regrets, right?
Right. Because the other part of it was the tattoo that said no regrets. Right.
Yeah.
So
it's like, well, it's on the internet, so it must be true. That's not the thing. And that's kind of what the cool thing about what I love this explosion, since we're losing more and more confidence on the major multimedia companies, the CBSs, the Fox, the CNN, the MSNBC, whatever you want to do, the ABCs. I'm throwing them all
of them.
All of them. Wherever you're getting your source of. This is the reason why you're seeing podcasts like ours, because it's real life now. Here we are, two guys doing some stuff. And you're really starting to get some insight and some stuff back in there. I also heard on a channel, and I watch them all.
Yeah.
So I'm going to watch them all. But they're like, okay, we're going to fact check everything that was said. And then this person that I don't know from Adam comes up like, we fact check this, we fact check this. Where are you getting your facts?
Right.
But we're going to believe this person, in my eyes, was like 25, 30 years old. Like, yeah, this is not true. This is not true. This is not true. And there's just so much manipulation in numbers and different things. I'm just saying, again, I'm going to go back to our season crowd. I think our 40 and under are really starting to see the light of this. I know for a fact because we have one of my nieces. She's like, I spent 4 years believing all this ish, and now I'm mad. And that's where you see this pendulum swinging back. Like people that lost lives in, lost years of high school because they were sank, they were secluded, and you can't do this, you can do this. And now all these reports are like, yeah, we didn't really need to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. So now you have this younger generation like, you lied to me. I'm pissed. And doing this stuff. So going back, my mom and dad, our parents, or stuff like this, is we were always led to believe it's like, hey, if it's on the news, it's, the journalists, you have to believe
it's gospel. Yeah.
It's just not that way. Feel free. Again, if you're semi-questioning it, we would love for you to reach out to us. We'll give you our opinion. It may or may not be right. It may be something that may not fit into your mindset of where you want to be.
Yeah.
But we're living in it. We see a lot of different things. We're getting some different information that we never have heard before. Again, not saying that we're right, but instead of relying on one source, you may have multiple conversations with multiple different people that see their side of it. And you wouldn't believe that's how you're going to create leaders, right?
Mm-hmm.
You won't believe, like, God, I kind of saw him in this light, and he's really not that person.
Well, it goes back to embracing the difference, instead of creating indifference, right?
Yeah, I had we have a couple people that watch our episode, and one of them reached out to us, and now I have two different examples. One of them had a belief in a certain situation, and the person reached out to them and said, because of that belief, I am no longer supporting your business.
Mm-hmm.
The ripple effect on the mindset of that is catastrophic.
Yeah.
And that is what the powers that be want you to do. If you can start wiping out small businesses, big conglomerates come out, and you want to hate all these millionaires. Big conglomerates come in and buy up these small businesses, and then it's just this big thing to it, and you can't figure out why the rich get richer and the poor get poorer in there. So they wrote back and said, it's really hurtful. I can't believe that you did that. Well, I didn't mean to hurt the other people in your business. I just said I wasn't going to support it. But you have to think through those things. And instead of like, the cancel culture, get done with it. Both sides. Stop canceling shit.
Yep.
Yeah. And I said I swore, and I said, I'm so sorry. Stop canceling people. Get to them when they're like, hey, you said this. We talked about this way. Their text read this way. Is this really what you meant?
Yeah. Ask the question instead of formulating a conclusion without the input, right?
Yeah. And another person wrote into it is like, okay, Brent Blair, you're talking about all this stuff. You've been talking about it for 59 episodes now. How am I supposed to stay focused on this stuff when there's just all of this bad stuff? Well, pick up a book.
Yeah.
Start reading. Start meeting with groups of people, maybe, and have different mindsets to them, and have conversations. Hey, man, what are you thinking about this? How is it really affecting you? Is it going to be weird? Yeah. But everything we've been doing for the past 8 years is not working.
Correct.
So how do we fight it? This is just off my head. So did I think about this? No, I'm reading this. As always, our conversations are super organic, and somebody puts words in our head and we run with it. So that's how you're going to cut out the noise. If we stop paying attention to really thinking what we're seeing on a constant basis through social media, and relying on memes and different things like this, and having conversations with people, and reading books, and learning how to become a leader, and meeting with different leaders that are better than you, is that's what's going to change it around. And realistically, what you want to do is create this is another thing that was in the book, so I'm going to credit John Maxwell on this, is create a leader that's going to be better than you.
Yep. Every day.
Brent has multiple employees. It's his job to create leadership in everyone, so that one day that they can open a body shop or a detail shop that's going to be better than his.
Yep. Or better yet, write me a dang check for it.
Or come buy my business.
Yeah.
So I can sit on the beach with Blair drinking Mai Tais.
Yeah. Speaking of which, we've got a little Joe Rogan on us, and I do have to run.
Okay.
And so I appreciate you, my friend. And let's go make a damn difference.
All right, guys. Thank you very, very much. Remember, we're going to put some stuff out here. We have multiple channels to get this out on now. So thank you for your followings. Until we speak again next time, stay safe, and most of all, God bless. Take care.